Well, I'm back in the shed, finally. Life gets in the way. I had to do some earth moving with the little excavator, but today I get to work on the truck. I think I'm going to make a start on the floor. I bought some new bead roller dies, so I'm going to try and do something a bit fancy with this. And so now I'm going to bring you in and show you. In the last video I made the rear panels. I'm going to use some Clecos to hold them in place so I know they don't move, and then I can build the template to them, and then we can do some sheet metal. Let's do it. So in the last video I made this panel here. What I'm going to do is put a couple of holes across the top there and use some Clecos to hold them in place. The holes we can fill in later with the spot weld. So the holes will be welded up later anyway, so it should be fine. And then we'll do the template for the floor. And we'll do a bit of bead rolling here and here, and it should be looking pretty good. So I've got these little things, they're called Clecos. You can see there the end of it, those ends pop out. So this is basically a temporary rivet. These are quite expensive. If you can't, if you don't have any of these, you can use self-tapping screws. I've got these, I bought these years ago when they were actually cheap. So I'm just gonna drill a couple of 1/8 holes for the Clecos, and that will hold the panel in place. And then you use this tool to put the Cleco in place. So you'll see right there, it pops open and draws the materials together like a rivet would. And then we have this style Cleco. This is good for overlapping panels and stuff. Of course the compressor comes on now. So basically what I'll do is I'll drill into the panel and into the box section. Make sure it's in the right position. So what you do right now is a good time to put your Cleco in. Don't get carried away drilling the holes, because as you drill this one, if there's no Cleco or self-tapping screw in here, the panel can move and then your holes will be misaligned. And the beautiful thing about these is the holes are so small, the panel's always going to go in the same exact place. Just like that, put it in place, holds it. So I'll do another one up here, and then I'll do the same on the other side. I've got these rear wall panels Clecoed in. That'll do for now. What I'm going to do is measure up the passenger side of the truck. The floor pan or the frame is actually wider on this side, because I've said in the previous videos the engine and transmission are offset in this truck. So what I'm planning on doing is making the template for this side, and then because the template's going to be larger, once I have that marked out on the steel, I'll flip it and use it on the other side and trim it to suit the smaller side, which is the driver's side. That way I don't waste too much cardboard, because it is actually expensive. So I can repurpose the template from this side to the other side. I still need to trim the firewall to suit the wheels. I've decided I need to run a smaller profile tyre on the front, just because I don't have much clearance. So I'm going to run a smaller profile tyre on the front, and I'm also going to run a bit more caster, which will help with the clearance. So any clearance I add into the firewall now will be plenty down the track when I do the smaller tyres and the different wheel alignment. So I'll get the floor pans done. We'll get the firewall Cleco to the floor pan, and I don't know what else. I need to start working on some seat mounts and seat belt mounts, so I'll Cleco the floor pan in as well, temporarily put it in place. At least then I can start getting all my panels temporarily held in place, and then I'll add to it. So I need to do some kind of seat mounting system once I have the floor sheets in. Once I have Clecos for the firewall to the sheet metal for the floor pan, I can start looking at my pedal orientation. And once I get all that sorted out, I can start welding all this stuff in. So what I'll do now is I'm going to measure the widest part of the frame. So 740 by 1090. So I'll cut the cardboard now. Bring it in, throw some magnets on it and trace it out, and then we've got our number one template. Well, I present to you the cardboard. I'm going to use the rear wall and this RHS and work my way out from there, because that part is actually square and I've cut my template square. So I'm going to drop some magnets on it and work my way out. I'll run a Stanley knife or a utility knife across this side, and it should be quite a nice template. So I'll make sure my edge here lines up nicely, and I'll throw a magnet on there, another one there. I don't think these little magnets are going to do much while it's still under tension. I'll use these beauties here. They're a lot stronger. Well, this is the final product of the template. What I'm thinking of doing is adding 20 mil on this edge here, so I can tip it up and it'll give me something for the transmission tunnel to weld to. It's very hard to weld thin sheet metal corner to corner, but it's not too bad to do edge to edge, for me anyways. And I don't want to TIG weld any of this, I just want to MIG it, zap zap zap, done. So I think the flange, although it will be a pain to produce like a tipped edge, I think it'll be worthwhile in the end. So what I'm thinking now is I'm going to try and flip it and see if it goes on the driver's side, and then hopefully I could start cutting some sheet metal. Yoo-hoo! So before I finish trimming up this template, I wanted to explain what I've done here. So you can see this line, that's my 20mm flange. I've just drawn 20mm extra and moved the template in that 20mm. And then when I was cutting this template, I had a bit of a whoopsie. As you can see, well, hopefully you can see, the template wasn't the straightest, especially right there. So what I've done is use my ruler and I've projected that straight edge, and then I can trim it out a little bit later on. This panel is probably 3 or 4 mil bigger than it needs to be. Because when I tip the flange, it's going to sort of get adjusted later on when I do the flange. And now that I've used the template to mark out my sheet metal, I can trim the template down and use it on the driver's side, and I won't need to use it anymore. Well, I've done the same thing on the driver's side, so let's get it on the sheet metal and mark it out. It's a slow process, but I'm getting there slowly. Once I have them trimmed out, I can start laying out the marks for where I want the bead rolls, and I've got to actually measure up if I can do the beads that I want in my bead roller, because I think these panels might be too long. If they're too long, I'm not going to cut them and do the bead rolling. I'll just do whatever bead rolling I can. I'll just have to adjust what my plan was. I did buy some forming dies. I wanted to do like a quilted pattern on the floor, but like I said, I don't think I might have the depth. Lovely cameraman volunteering his time now. I've cut the panels out, left the 20mm flange on there. We'll bend that up later. I'm going to get underneath the truck and mark out the framework. What I'm hoping to do is a bit of a crisscross bead roll under the seat and a quilting pattern under here. I don't know if we'll do the quilting pattern because I think the sheet's too big for my bead roller. I'll mark the frame now. You also need to work out which way your panel is. So this is the top driver's side. I'm going to mark it so I don't bead roll it or do anything upside down. I've done the passenger side, so I'll do the same up here. I'll driver side top. And now I've got a reference mark. So when I bead roll this and bend the flanges, I don't mess it up. Worth noting because I have messed panels up before. So I'll mark underneath now, and then I can mark out my bead rolls. Okay, Cyclone Alfred is over, and I'm back in the shed. We got power. We've had about a week without power, so that's been fun. I've marked out the floor pan, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing so far. So the light is causing a bit of glare, but you can see I've marked out the panel here. So this is going to be my bead roll lines. I'm going to add some more bead rolls here. Each one of these lines is going to be a spot weld, so I have to drill these out, so that's going to be good fun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the bead rolling and show you. Originally I wanted to do a quilted pattern in here, but the panel is too wide for my bead roller, so I've had to change the plan because the only way I could do a quilted panel would be to trim this one through the middle and then work on this one. Then I've got more joins. I just want to get this truck done as quick as possible. So I need to tip the edge of my floor pan. You can put it in the brake if you have, or a bender, or like a sheet metal folder. I don't have one that will work for this application. You can also use your bead roller. I don't need to do that. I've just put a slice in mine, and I'm going to show you a quick and easy way that anyone can do at home. And it's just going to work well for my situation. I'm only doing the passenger side at the moment, just because that's what I need to be able to temporarily put this in place with Clecos. The driver's side, because everything's offset, I actually don't need to tip the flange to put Clecos in it at the moment. So I'll do the passenger side, and then I'll do the rest of the edges later on. So I'll turn you around and I'll show you what I'm doing. So what you see there, I've clamped my floor pan against the edge of the table here. I've clamped over the top, and I'm going to use a nylon dead blow hammer and just slowly work my way across. Here's the final result. I've overbent it a little bit, so what I'll do now is clean it up. Just hammer and dolly, straighten it out, make it perfectly 90. I'll do this side later on. I don't really have much time today. Alright, you know, you're like, oh, I'm not going to do a lot today, and then you get carried away. And anyway, so I got carried away. I've done both the edges, folded them up. As you can see, there's a bit of a ripple effect and all that. That stuff you can tune out later. You can fine tune all these edges later on with a hammer and dolly. I will do this at a later date. I don't need it 100% right now, because I still need to mate up the transmission tunnel to it. And when you do that, you can squeeze them together and spot weld them. So I'll put it in the truck and show you what it's going to look like. So I've got the driver's side already in there. The panels do get a bit distorted when you bead roll them, but once you Cleco them down, they're very solid. So I'll show you what the passenger side looks like. Well, look, this is what I've done so far. As you can see, there was meant to be another bead roll here. My bead roll is not deep enough, so it is what it is. I've also done a stop-start bead here. It's probably hard to see in the video. I didn't want to roll over the existing bead because you can crush them. You can use a polyurethane wheel, but I didn't feel the need to change it out. It's just, it won't make a big difference. It's got a bit of a bounce to it, but what I've noticed, as I start adding the Clecos in, this thing is becoming very solid. So I'm pretty happy with it actually. I am thinking with this area here, because I don't know if I'm going to paint it or not, I'm thinking of doing a aluminium infill to sit over the top, and then I could do the quilted pattern that I wanted on the aluminium. You can see here what I was talking about. So I've given it this edge here, so the transmission tunnel will roll down, and then I can weld it on this side. And I'll make this in two pieces anyways. I'll do the rear section and the front section. There is a bit of an error that I've just noticed, which I don't quite remember how it happened, but you can see here there's a large edge I don't know what I've done. I've definitely made a mistake somewhere because I don't have the same on the other side. So when I tip the edge of this up, it's going to be in line with this edge here, but somehow I've ended up with a bit of excess material on the firewall. I'm unsure as to how it happened or why it happened and how I'm going to rectify it. I don't know. I'm learning. That's the progress so far. It's a big journey, but it is what it is. So I've thrown some Clecos in, as you can see. Yeah. You know, the problem with the Clecos is you probably need about 400 of them if you build cars. Because it would be really nice to have them everywhere. And what I've seen the professional workshops do is they basically put Clecos in every hole, remove the Cleco, tack it, put a spot weld in there, then remove the next Cleco. And the reason they do that is it would lay the panel flat, because you can see here in between them, or this is a good example here, you can get a bit of tin canning from bead rolling. So what you should be doing is putting all your Clecos in, or self-tappers. I might start using self-tappers. I've also done the rear there, you can see. So it's going to sit quite nicely. So what I'm thinking is I'll spot weld this panel to the floor, and then where I've got this marked, so this line here is the edge of the box section. So we're approximately 30 mil up. I can drill all these and spot weld this to the frame. So this will go to the floor pan, and the floor pan will get welded to the frame. I also need to work out where my bolt holes are for the cab mounts. I don't know how to work that out. I think what I might do is stick a bit of blue tack on the bolts, put the sheet metal down, and where it sticks is where I'll drill the holes. And I don't think I'm going to do anything fancy. I'm just going to drill a hole and put a grommet in it, to be honest. This is not going to be anything flash. You should, probably put a sleeve in there and whatnot. But who cares? It's a freaking rusted out old truck that's just going to destroy tyres and engines and all sorts. So as long as it's sealed and I don't get smoke and water up in the cab, I'll be fine. Although that's probably hard to do with these rust bubbles everywhere. So we'll see. I'll seal it up. I'll seal it up as best as I can. And that's it for this video. This video's been over like 3 or 4 days. I've been trying to do a bit of work with the excavator, and we've had a cyclone here and just life. So it is what it is. I don't make any money from making videos. I enjoy it, and when I have the time I'll keep making it. Thanks for watching.